unless you, like I said, adhere to their principles. But you catch them and they're not even doing what they're preaching. They're not even doing what they tell you to do. So now what? Is every Piru in the United States of America going to start wearing burgundy? No. Pirus have always worn burgundy, but there are also Pirus who wear red. But you'll see in the Compton Bloods video, they're telling you something else that isn't true. 1, 2, 3, 4 videos is all you need to see in order to really understand this phenomenon. Watch number 1, Bloods, Pirus, East Coast more organized than California. West Coast OG. Look, it's like a football team. Sometimes you're on the winning team. Sometimes you're on the losing team. California has to understand that these organizations, some of them are not criminal. They're non-criminal. They're just associations. They're organizations in the community. There are people who are part of what you, the general public, would refer to as gangs. They're not. They're community activist groups. They're grassroots mobilization organizations. There are a lot of different types of systems in society. A lot of different types of organizations, sub-organizations, a lot of different types of hierarchical structures. And Bloods and Crips happen to be some of them. Within Bloods and Crips, you have legitimate organizations, people who are truly seeking to help society. That's how some of these different branches of these organizations began. There were people in the beginning who said, look, we're Bloods and we're for the upliftment of the community, enriching our youth with knowledge and education and keeping crime out of our neighborhoods. That's what happened. And you still have that within these organizations. You have people who are guardian angels. You have people on all different levels of society who are associated with these different organizations. Some people in some of these different neighborhoods in California, they want you to believe that they've got the best dope. They've got the most guns, that all of their, like I said, principles are the correct ones. They're the right principles, and they're the ones that started Bloods, or they started Crips, or they started this gang or that gang, and you have to listen to them. And if you're in another state and you were recruited by someone from their gang, you're not real because you've never been to their neighborhood. Why? I'm someone who's lived in California. I'm someone who has been in California. But there are kids who get recruited in places like Idaho, Iowa, Nebraska, down south, Georgia, Atlanta, Utah, anywhere, and they're certified gang members. They've gone through all the initiation rites. They've done everything to be loyal to these organizations. And then you have these kids over in California talking about, fuck you, you're not real unless you come to their hood and you get down with them and you do all this bullshit that they do. And you're like, man, I'm already college, university educated, got a family and all that, and I've repped the hood. I've repped your hood. You know what I mean? And they're talking all this shit. They don't even know. And these are kids that are younger than you. You know, back on that coast, talking about, they run the entire dope game in the United States of America and all this shit that they be talking about. That's not upliftment of the community. That's not anything productive. It's counterproductive. It's unproductive. It's non-productive. It's not helping. It's not conducive to making a better society. So peep the first video. Bloods, Pirus, East Coast, more organized in California. Hey, look, man, you gangsters out there in California, man, in some places, you have to admit that I'm right. New York, right now, is more organized than California. If you go to Chicago, where I used to live as well, people in Chicago, they're pretty honest about what's going on. California, man, it has this issue with being dishonest, with not being that truthful, because maybe it's Hollywood, it's a number of factors, man. Look, people in D.C., they'll tell you on the internet, that in a lot of places in D.C., they'll tell you that they're not organized. They'll tell you straight up that their neighborhood is not organized, that it's disorganized. Well, that's what goes on in a lot of these different parts of California nowadays. California had some strong organization back in the day, but it's not as organized. And y'all have to really admit that. I mean, it's the truth and people know it. And if you watch the documentary East Coast United Blood Nation, part 1 through 5, Gangland, you're going to see that. East Coast United Blood Nation, parts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Watch them all. You've got to see that. If you think you know what's going on with Bloods and Crips and these gangs in the United States of America, in your neighborhoods, in the cities, and in the communities, if you haven't seen East Coast United Blood Nation, part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, how can you really say that you know exactly what's going on? That's an in-depth, comprehensive video. You've got to watch that, and there's a lot of knowledge. There's intelligence information in there. You've got FBI, you've got police, special task force. You have information come from the U.S. government, from the streets, from historians, from academics, from people on the streets, people telling their story from the streets, and from the man and his organization itself. Number 2, you got to see the Compton Bloods video. You have to see that, because in the Compton Bloods video, you're going to see ambiguity. You're going to see some shit that doesn't reflect the entire Piru organization. You're going to see people talking about, yeah, this Piru Piru and this is how Piru is, and if anybody isn't on this particular block, then they ain't really Piru. I mean, you know, that there's just fake. I mean, you know, and